Hey everyone, this is Tanya. I've had quite a few requests from people wanting to know how I make my sauerkraut, my lactofermented sauerkraut. I make the recipe that is found in the Nourishing Traditions cookbook by Sally Fallon. She calls for cabbage, caraway seeds, sea salt, and whey. I do not like caraway seeds, so in my version I do not have any caraway seeds. But I have cabbage and I have sea salt, and the whey that I have usually comes from the top of my yogurt container, or my sour cream container. That's just the easiest place for me to find whey. So I cut up my cabbage, and it doesn't really matter how you want to cut it up. If you like bigger pieces or smaller pieces, I like them kind of in little cubes. So I cut up my little pieces, I get a big metal bowl, and I put my pieces of cabbage in here. It calls for 1 medium cabbage and 1 tablespoon of sea salt. So what I normally do is chop up my cabbage, I put it in the bowl like this, I get about a tablespoon of sea salt, I sprinkle it in, and then I take the rest of my cabbage and put it in there. And then I sprinkle the rest of my sea salt in there. So it's kind of mixed already for me, and it's in there evenly. Just toss all this in a bowl. Pour in the rest of your sea salt. The sea salt's going to help it so that it can lacto-ferment, but also keep out the bad bacteria that's going to make your cabbage rot. So I use this mason jar filled with a little bit of water to pound my kraut. Pounding is going to start to break down the cabbage and help it to lacto-ferment in the right way. And I just start pounding the cabbage like this. And you're going to have to pound for, I do 1 head of cabbage at a time, so I end up having to pound maybe for about 20 minutes. You're going to pound your cabbage until water starts to come out of it, and when you hit your cabbage, and as it starts to be crushed, you'll notice that there's water filling the hole where your jar was. So if you pound and it leaves a hole and it starts to fill with about 1 inch of water, that is when you are ready to put it in jars. Some people use kraut crocks, some people use special pickling kind of things. I just use a normal mason jar. So I put my crushed kraut cabbage into this jar. I leave about 1 inch of space because it's going to bubble. It's going to overflow maybe. So put it in a spot where you've got a towel underneath it or a plate, and you're going to let it sit on the counter for 3 days. I just set a lid over top of my kraut like this so that air is able to escape, but junk isn't able to get in, and any little critters. And as the days go on, you're going to want to open the jar and take some sort of spoon and press down on your cabbage so that the little air bubbles that are starting to collect on the side of your jar can escape. And you want to keep your cabbage below the water level so that you don't have any cabbage exposed to the air, because the cabbage that's exposed to the air is going to start to rot if it's not under that salt water with a little bit of whey. The whey is also preservative. So right here I have kraut that is now sat out for 3 days, and it is fermented. It's ready to eat right now if you want to. And normally I would have it in these jars, and I would then put the rings on it, and I would put it in my fridge. If you start to notice that your kraut looks a little bit dry, then I take a little bit of water and maybe a little bit of sea salt, add it to your water, swirl it around, and pour it in there so that it covers it again to the top. You can also take a piece of this cabbage leaf, and when you have it in your jar, your kraut in your jar, you just press that cabbage leaf down underneath the water level too, and that'll help keep all the little pieces from floating to the top. So tonight, when I was getting this out and deciding to show it to you, I decided to take out the kraut out of my jars that I had it in, put it in this container, and I'm going to make my favorite kind of kraut tonight, which is a pickle kraut. A friend of mine had it at her house, had ordered it online, and it was awesome and amazing. And so tonight I pulled my kraut that has been sitting on the counter for 3 days. I pulled it out of the jars, and I'm going to add in fresh cut dill that I bought at the grocery store, and I'm going to add in cucumbers. I like to dice them pretty tiny, and I'm going to add these into my jars as well. And then I also am going to put in some minced garlic. You could add in onions, you could add in carrots, you could add in hot peppers, you could add in all kinds of stuff, anything that you like. And I'm just going to mix this in really well, and then I'm going to stuff it back in my jars, and I'm going to put it in the fridge, and then you can eat it whenever you really like, because it's already been fermented on the counter for 3 days, and now it's just going to have a nice dill pickle flavor. And this is what my jar of finished kraut looks like. This is just a plain kraut. I have made salsa krauts that have hot peppers in them, and tomatoes and cilantro and onions. I've made just peppers in kraut, which is very yummy, and if you put in yellow peppers, green peppers, and red peppers, it's also very fun looking. I have made krauts that have everything that's kind of in my fridge. I was just making an attempt to try something new and fun, so I put chunks of apples in there. I have put sliced up carrots in there. I put sliced up radishes. My all-time favorite has been this dill pickle. It is a really, really yummy version, and all my kids have loved it. Everybody has loved it. So you can do all kinds of neat things, all kinds of variety. Try to new things every once in a while, shake things up a little bit. It's very good plain, and it's very good with things mixed in it. I also had a friend that added the caraway seeds, and then when she served it, she drizzled roasted sesame seed oil over it, and that was a very neat version of it as well. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something, and if you have any questions, let me know.